Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the show for leaders who want real results, not more noise. Join Emanuel Rose as he helps business builders turn AI from a confusing add-on into a practical advantage with clearer messaging, stronger trust, and smarter systems. If you felt the shift happening in real time, you're not imagining it. In the agentic pivot, Emanuel calls it the move from experimenting with AI to building with it, so it supports your team, your brand, and your growth. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Marketing in the Age of AI podcast. I'm your host, Emanuel Rose. Today, we're delving into the critical intersection of technology and leadership with Mark Wormgoor. With over 30 years of experience, Mark is a distinguished tech strategist and executive coach known for advising industry leaders and guiding global IT teams. As the head of Tyree, he focuses on establishing impactful tech leadership at the executive level. Mark's insights into how strategic technological leadership can drive growth will shed light on how businesses can position themselves not just to survive, but to thrive in the age of AI. Mark, thank you so much for spending some time chatting with me today.
Hi, Manuel. Good day. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You bet. Well, you've been doing this for 30 years now, so you've seen a few of these little tech bubbles, haven't you?
It's been incredible, right? I mean, when I started, the internet was, and it barely just came out, right? Nobody was really using it. It was mostly in
Yep.
companies and universities. And now we've had the mobile, we had the dot-com boom, of course, 2000s, the mobile boom, and now AI. And I mean, it does feel like everything's going faster and faster and faster. Like these first booms it took years, right? I think for the
Sure.
internet, I mean, my first access to the internet was in 93. I think before it was generally available was 5 years. .com came, mobile is more like 3 years. And then it's just going so fast and developments are going so rapidly. And I think for me, it's exciting, but I think for a lot of people, yeah, you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think I'm most interested right now in the change management and the way that organizations are able to adapt and absorb because we know it's 10,000 times slower than the technology at this point. So tell me a little bit about what you're seeing in terms of the change management and the adoption.
And I think that's indeed the hardest part because technology, I don't think technology over the next couple of years is going to slow down. It hasn't in
Right.
the past
No.
20, 30 years that I've been here. It's only sped up. I don't think that's going to be different in the time to come.
Yeah.
In technology, we used to have these big change programs where we would implement something. We'd take a year, maybe 2 years to run a large project, a program to implement something. And then we'd have a business case where we could reap the benefits for 3, 5, 7, maybe even 10 years. I
Right.
think that time is gone. We can't at this point, I mean, core ERP systems, of course, but for most systems, you can't implement them and expect them to be around in 3 to 5 years because everything is going so fast. So
Right.
I think what really needs to change is, and I think that's what you're referring to, the agility of organizations. They just need to adopt and adjust so much faster. And with that, that's the culture and the people in those organizations. And I think that's where it gets hard. A lot of people aren't very comfortable just constantly changing, doing new things, trying new things, and just adopting and moving on, especially in this age of uncertainty where nobody really knows what's going to happen. So, and I think that indeed probably is the biggest challenge that nobody really has an answer to at the
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah, well, and I think there is some fatigue. Even I feel that fatigue sometimes, right? Where it's like, oh, I've got to learn these next three pieces of software in order to be in on this project. And it's like, how many pieces of software have I learned in the last 5 years? So the
Yeah, and I
fatigue
think
is
that
real, right?
fatigue is real, and I think that applies to everyone. On the other hand, I'm seeing these smaller organizations that are just going so fast, right? The startups, but also the newly started companies, they just get 5 or 10 people together and they just embrace AI like it's always been here.
Yeah,
You get 5 or 10 experts around the table. You give them all just full on AI. They do everything agentic. They automate everything, and they just have so much speed, and they can just use it at scale. On the other hand, I was at a CIO event last week where we had several CIOs, and they were talking about how they are using AI. And yes, they're doing some projects here and there. They're maybe doing this automated service desk, or they're automating some of their processes. But that speed is very different from the first company that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I think that's really what's going to have to change, is that we're going to have these larger companies that don't not, don't just need to think about the adoption of AI and these small projects left or right, but they really need to take this into their core. And I think that's going to be the biggest shift that we're going to see, is that it's not just the IT organization or a couple of specialists left and right that are going to automate, that are going to use agents, that are going to use AI to the fullest extent. It's going to have to be 50, 60, 70, 80% of the people in an organization that's going to have to do automation, agents, and everything like that.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's what's interesting is that we have this massive technological shift, and then which creates this kind of leapfrogging thing that you're describing, where the startups are going to be able to automate much quicker than the legacy businesses. But then we also have the demographic shift, right, where the baby boomers are moving out of the market, and we're getting all the Z's in, and it is tumultuous and dynamic and really exciting in that kind of the wash of the change, right?
Yeah, and I love that change. And I think with the generations, it's, I mean, yes, we have, I think, boomers moving in and moving out indeed, and Gen Z coming in. But I think AI adoption is there across all of the generations. I don't see people in their 50s, 60s that are, honestly, I'm 50 myself. I don't see people that are 50s and 60s that are, you're here, that are holding back. I don't think it's Gen Z that's driving this. I think it's across the generations. I think it's the people
Yeah,
that just love and embrace change, that are far more, yeah, happy or accommodating to this change than the people that are more afraid of change. So I think the biggest advice that I can give anyone in this time and age is just embrace the change, enjoy it, have fun with it, play with it, and it's okay that things are uncertain. Nobody knows what the future is going to hold.
yeah, no, that's beautiful. Are you seeing any differences between the markets between the EU and the United States and North America?
I don't think it's as much between the markets. I was reading this paper, and I think it was a Microsoft paper on the adoption of AI, and it wasn't actually, there wasn't such a big difference between the EU or the US. Actually, the US was slightly lower, and that's not because the UI. I mean, the US is absolutely driving all of the innovation, right? But you have all these businesses around it. You have small law firms, you have a dentist practice, you have all these, you have farmers, you have all these other businesses that haven't or have barely started adopting AI, or maybe a little here and there. And I think that's what we're seeing across the EU and the US and everywhere, is that for the tech companies, it's, I mean, it's easy. Of course, they're going to embed AI everywhere that they can.
Sure.
For the corporates, they have the budgets, they have the IT departments, but change is slow. And then we have, and I think that's maybe 80 or 90% of the market, all these other businesses, like I said, from plumbers to farmers to dentists to everything, also SME businesses that are really going to have to get on board as well. And I think that's across all markets, that those
Yeah.
are lagging behind a little bit, but that will happen.
Yeah, for sure. And then I guess when you're looking at speaking with executives, how are you stepping them through the process? Let's just say they're nervous about losing their job, and they have some fear about it, or maybe they're slow to adopt. How are you walking them through the process of adoption and expertise, as if you can call it that?
So I work mostly with tech executives,
Sure.
and on the one hand, they are, I mean, they love tech, right? So they love AI, which is a given. I think what you're seeing in a lot of different organizations historically is that tech is this little silo on the side somewhere. You have people that are just managing the applications, that are managing the PCs or the network or whatever it is. And then we have sales and marketing and delivery, whatever it is that you do, that is making the money, right? And tech is just this support function on the side. And I mean, personally, but also a lot of people with me in tech have been asking, demanding that this change, right? Because technology is critical to every business, and it has been
Yeah.
for 10 or 15 years already. I mean, that's not new. But now with AI, that just has to change. Technology is not something that you can have on the side. It's a critical part to every business. So what that means, especially for the tech executives that I work with, is you can't focus on the technology. Like we just said, it's the organization, it's the
Yeah.
people, it's the
Right.
culture that has to adopt. For tech leaders, that means you have to adjust, you have to focus on stakeholder management, you have to spend 50, 60, 70% of your time talking to not your own team, not to tech vendors, but to the salespeople, to the marketing people, to the finance people, to all those other people in the organization.
Yeah.
And that's the stakeholder management, the close collaboration with all those departments. I think that's the hardest part of what's changing right now for the tech
Yeah.
executives that I work with, at least.
Yeah, I agree, and it's the translation of what we have today, what where we need to bring people up to in the rest of the organization, and then what's possible, right? And those are it's difficult conversations, and at least in the deployments I've had, working with organizations, it is like maybe a quarter of the people are really excited and ready to rock and roll with this, and then the rest of the organization just wants to go to work and keep doing what they're always doing.
And I understand that, right? That's the safety and the comfort that people like and people
Yeah,
love, but it's going to change.
yeah,
Even with the internet, right? We used to have marketing before the internet. Really, we
sure,
did.
uh-huh.
It was very much magazines and papers and TV and radio. Um,
Yeah,
Marketing has changed incredibly over the past 20 years, and it's going to
absolutely,
continue to do that now with AI. And the same is going to happen to sales. The same is going to happen to finance. I mean, finance used to be a paper exercise. It used to
yeah,
be Excel, and I mean, everything's online these days.
yeah.
All of these fields have just evolved over the years and have gotten more modern, more technical, and technical has become part of almost every field. And that's it's just going to continue to grow, and that's not going to stop anytime soon.
Now, tell me, have you used any of the vibe coding platforms, and do you have any favorites out of those?
I did, of course. I played around with most of them.
Yeah,
And they're nice for vibe coding. If you look at a Lovable, if you look at a V0, they're nice to do vibe coding in, but they don't give you production ready code.
right.
Of course, I'm a technologist at heart. My current favorite, and I think a lot of people with me, is Cloud Code.
Sure.
And that's not just for writing code, but I also use that to automate almost every task in my business. If I need to prepare a podcast, if I need to do my invoicing, if I need to do basically anything in my business, if it's a repetitive task, I automate it. And Cloud Code is my favorite tool for just writing. It's not even code, it's writing the skills that it can use to automate. Absolutely my favorite by far.
And then how would you recommend that an executive gets into using a tool like that?
And I think so. Cloud Code is very command line oriented, and because of that, it's also my favorite. I mean, I'm from a command line world back in the day.
Yeah. Yep.
It just makes it easier. But Cloud is also they have Cowork, which just is a very easy tool that anyone can use, and that you can automate so many tasks with as well. And I think that's a very good starting point. Cloud Cowork, Microsoft has Copilot Studio, also something where a lot of normal users, right, non-technical users, can just go in and start to automate things. So I think those two are probably the biggest platforms right now that are out there for people to start automating their own work. And of course, if you don't want that, you can always hire someone on Fiverr or Upwork and find somebody to go and do that for you or with you. I don't think that's necessary. I think with those tools, you can already start to automate. Manus is a third one, by the way, acquired by Meta.
Oh yeah. No, man,
Yeah, so those are probably the three best tools. Those really, you don't need an engineer, you don't need a software developer to go and automate work when you have those tools.
yeah.
Just go and do it, play around.
I love it. And then what about any of the AI agent platforms that you've taken a shine to that you're interested in?
Yeah, I think those three.
Yep.
Manus is probably.
Yep.
I like Manus. Manus is incredible. It's just really it gets very expensive very quickly. So the
Yeah.
way that the credits go, it's probably the best one out there. But the credits go so fast that it's almost impossible to use it for like all of your automation tasks. Which is why I'm a bigger fan of Claude.
Yep.
Personally, I have the Claude Pro Max platform. $200 a month. It's not overly expensive, right? For $200 a month, I don't run against any limits,
Right.
and I use it a lot. it can do almost anything. And I can use Cloud Cowork, Cloud Code. I can just use it online. And it's because of that, it's my favorite platform. The $20 subscription is, yeah, not, I constantly run into limits. So I've given up on that
Right.
one. So, yeah, but the big one is it's almost limitless.
So we've kind of hit this spot, it sounds like, from your experience right now, where the tech executives have become kind of having to learn more about leadership and about change management, and a little bit less about technology, because we have everything at our disposal now for tech, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's hard, right? Because tech leaders, they grow up from technology. I mean, these
Yeah,
people, almost all of them, the people that I know, they started doing either coding or infrastructure, or they come from like an SAP background, but they've
yeah,
grown up in the technology, and that's where they started. And you gradually grow up, but at some point you're suddenly an executive, and your work. Well, you don't have to know the technology. Well, you have to understand technology and what it does, but you're no longer hands-on. I mean, I was there
right.
myself. I spent years and years in consulting and also in leadership functions myself. I haven't touched, in those days, I didn't touch anything. All that I
Yeah,
did was spend my time in meetings, in stakeholder management, in emails, or yeah, and that's your life. So it's a very different life, and it's leadership is a very different skill. You just have to learn it. Like we learn coding,
yeah,
like we learn infrastructure, we have to spend time and effort to constantly learn about leadership, managing people, managing stakeholders. And for me, that's the fun part, but it's a lot of hard work.
yeah. It's a learned skill. Who are some of your philosophical leaders, book authors? Where do you send people if they want to learn about leadership or change management?
So I think, let me think about that one. My personal favorite book, and it's not a great book. It's horrible to read, but I do love it. And it's two books. It's the Leadership Pipeline and the Performance Pipeline.
Mm,
And why I love them is because they describe the different leadership level. They go from the individual contributor level to a team leader, to a leader of leaders, to a functional leader, and it goes all the way up to CEO. And it actually describes in quite a bit of detail what comes with being a team leader, or what comes with being a functional lead. Like if you're a CIO, what does that mean? How do you spend your time? What are your values? What should you be doing every day? Instead of, yeah, and I like that approach because it's a very practical, hands-on guide on how to spend your time and what you
yeah,
should be focusing on. And in my coaching, it's something that I use a lot, because what you're seeing is, and this isn't specific to technology, if somebody is really good at marketing and they get promoted to marketing team lead, instead of being the team lead and actually managing all the different people, they got there because they're probably the best marketer in the team, and
right.
they're going to continue to do their best work and be a good marketer. But that's not who they are. They are a
That's not the
team lead.
role. Yeah,
That's
right.
not the role anymore, but
Yeah,
it's the fallback. And
yeah,
you see that with every step up, is that it's the easiest thing to do is to fall back to the last level that you were at. And that's why I love that book, because it
yeah.
explains it so well, and I use it all the time in my coaching.
That's interesting. Yeah, and it is interesting how we take these subject matter experts or individual performers, and we move them out of what they're really good to, and we move them into a place where that they have to develop. Right?
And that's because they get more recognition, they get better pay at that level, and we have built a culture where everybody wants to be that team lead, that manager, that
Yeah,
CIO, that CEO, that CFO. I think most people are probably much happier if they could just stay in their fields, just become the better marketeer, become the better software engineer, and just keep doing the hands-on work with the same rewards and recognition. That's unfortunately not the culture of society that we have, but I think a lot of people would just be very happy doing that.
yeah, for sure. Well, I'm curious what you think about how much time we have, how many years to bring all these businesses forward into the AI adoption curve.
I think it's a very good question. And honestly, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. What I'm seeing myself is that
Yeah,
it's going so fast that I fear for those businesses. And I fear for those businesses because the moats that, let's say, a Coca-Cola or a Walmart or an Amazon had was their scale. Um, and there's no way that a startup could compete with that because of the skill that they had. I think
right,
what's changing with AI is that you can put together a team of 2, 5, or 10 people. They can almost do work at the same skill. And then it's, yes, they need to attract customers and do marketing, and they don't have the budgets to the same level of marketing that Nike or Coca-Cola does. But still, they can just go and move so fast that I think that's going to be the competitive edge. It's no longer manual work. Even look at software development. It used to be very time consuming to develop software. That's gone. Everyone can develop software. You can develop a CRM in almost no time. In a couple of days, a couple of weeks, you will have built, let's say, an 80-90% functional version of a CRM. Anyone can do that. So the software and the scale is no longer the mode that it used to be. So I don't think there is a lot of time. I think it's going to be very quickly that we're going to start seeing startups, small companies with 5, 10, 20 people that are going to have those big revenues, that are going to have 10, 20, 50, 100 million, maybe 500 million, or even $1 billion in revenue. And it's not going to be long. It's going to be a year, maybe 2 years before we get there.
Yeah. It's interesting just how the leapfrogging has just, it's mind-numbing how quick it happens and how you could take Salesforce and you can build Salesforce in 2 or 3 months, right? And then, but having solved all the problems that we all hate about Salesforce in the build.
Exactly. I don't want to talk about the UI, but absolutely.
Yeah.
How user-friendly it is.
Well,
we're going to see a lot of those.
Yeah. Mark, I really appreciate your time, and I love the conversation. If people wanted to have a conversation with you, what's the best way to connect?
So if people want to come have a conversation, they can be about technology in general. If people are thinking, I have I want to take part in this challenge, I just don't know where to get started with AI, I just want to have an open conversation, or those tech leaders that really want to get going on their executive skills, right? My website's here at the bottom, tyree.co. It's me. You can find me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on YouTube, wherever you like. So just send me a DM, and I'm just happy to have that chat with you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I'll let you get on with the rest of your day, and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mark. Well, it's a great idea. If you haven't started digging in, or you've had a bad mood about AI and what's happening, to look at it as a necessary change, and that it's an opportunity to learn, and it's actually a mandate now that we get into this mentality of AI first and automating activities and just play with it and have a little bit of a mood of excitement and interest, and see how you can get benefit from it. I hope that you enjoyed the episode and got some value today out of this conversation with Mark. And I also hope that you take some time to figure out some automations or some agents that save you a few hours a week. And with that time savings, you continue to upskill, that you spend it with your friends and family, or that you get outside into nature away from the screens. This is Emanuel Rose, Marketing in the Age of AI.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.